Running Sentences presents Tangled in a Criminal World. Part 4. More Trouble and Work. Now sort of working for the king and queen, Micha finds the royal court not a great place to be. In fact, he really wants to get out of here, but getting out of here does not appear to be easy. This story was written and narrated by Michael. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and or fictional ones is purely coincidental. Copyright 2024, Michael. All rights reserved. The king and queen stood by the grand dining table with their knights still seated around them. A plate of food that the queen had pushed forward certainly looks nice, but Micha was trying not to be distracted by that. Saying what I can do for my king and queen is not the answer, boy, the king said. Are you afraid of committing to us, that we will do something bad and leave you to face the consequences all on your own? Micha fought back the sensation of wanting to nod yes to that question from the queen. It wouldn't do, and neither of the royals would probably like seeing it. One learns that words matter, and I can't just agree to things without some sort of assurances. I believe that is the word for it, Micha said. You have our assurances, the queen offered with a warm but weird smile. I can even give you this sign of my favor. The king held up a shiny piece of metal that glinted in the light of the place. Whatever it was, Micha couldn't make it out from where he stood, and to accept that it was some sort of token of whatever, and one that would probably only go so far before the king and queen would claim he had stolen it. And, how useful is that? How far will that get me? As far as it can, boy, the king said, speaking up. All we need for you to do is what you're already doing, listening and reporting in. Of course, don't tell Lord Quad about our side of the deal, but other than that... I'm at your command, I guess, Micha said wryly to the queen. Say yes or no, none of this wordplay. It was not what Micha wanted to hear from the king, since he liked wordplay and getting around things. But he'd never actually been all that great at doing that sort of thing, but he loved the concept of trying. Yes, sir. Good. Now take the plate of food and the token and enjoy it. You deserve something nice, the queen said, though she sounded fake nice. With a step forward, Micha was careful to make sure he didn't get closer to either of the royals. He was going to be careful around them and their plots, since only danger lay around them. Neither acted out as he took the plate and the little silvery coin and backed away from them, finding a little spot on the table far away to eat in peace. Once done, he was quick to get out of there. He decided to leave the little token on the table, or maybe not. He wasn't sure. He kept playing with it, trying to figure out if it would hamper him or help him. Out of the dining area, Micha found himself in a hallway with no sense of direction of where he needed to go. It's a long and wide corridor that went both ways and looked to be a good distance. A few royals were about the place, waiting for their turn to get some food. Each of them looked up in surprise when the door opened, and then he came out. There were a few murmurs and whispers, but he ignores those as he chooses to head to his right. Why, isn't that a fine specimen of a young man, don't you think, daughter? Mother, please don't start, not now. The second voice sounded vaguely familiar, and despite himself, Micha looks over to see who the mother and daughter are. They, like the rest of the group, stand near the far wall, waiting for their turn. He recognizes the young woman he'd run into while stealing a bit of food from that royal room from before, and for a moment he trips over his own feet, trying to figure out if he should stop or not. Though if he can't stay on his own 2 feet, what good is he? Do you know him? No, mother, I do not know him. With a slight meeting of the eyes between the young lady and him, he decided to head off. After all, he'd been dismissed, and she said she didn't know him. Micha had had enough for the day, and gone to his room to think, plan, and figure out exactly what the fuck he was going to do. He kept playing with the coin, picking it up and moving it about with his fingers as a couple of hours went by, and most of them pacing about his room with nothing coming to mind. Eventually he went to bed at some point, though he couldn't exactly remember when. The morning arrived, leaving him groggy, tired, and wanting little to do with this life that he found himself in. There was a rather urgent knocking on his door, which he attributed to his waking up and now getting out of bed. With a sigh, he opens the door, unsure of what to expect. But the lady who was talking to the young woman, the mother of Aurora, was not who he expected to see. "Hello?" "Hi, can I help you, miss?" "I think you can." She puts her hand on his chest and pushes him gently back so she could come inside. His mind, still not fully awake, lets this happen, but tries to figure out why. "I'm not sure I understand without you explaining what you want from me." "I want you, isn't that obvious?" He blinks a few times, trying to keep up and failing to do so. It made no sense why suddenly everyone seemed so interested in him, of all people. "No, not obvious to me." "Well then, you're in for a treat. Come, sit down on the bed with me." "Are you going to teach me a few things?" He kept staring out the open door, not turning to face her, just in case. The last thing he wanted was to be seen as improper with a lady of the court. Though maybe this was how the ladies acted around here. He really didn't know, and apparently he was about to find out. "That wasn't my plan, but I could certainly do that if you're interesting enough." "What do you mean, then?" "Why don't you turn around and find out?" He gulped. A choice, especially in this situation, any choice, especially in this situation, seemed fraught with danger. To turn around might show him more than he was ready to process, which he was going to blame on not being ready for the day yet. Or all of this was going to pull him further into the politics that was going on around here. That, or it was a bit of both, which he didn't really like, so with a sigh he turned to see her. "What do you want to teach me?" She sat on the bed, looking much like she had when she came in. He was thankful for that, since it meant she wasn't trying to seduce him for whatever reason. "I'm looking for help," she said. "With what, miss?" The constant of not answering his questions was annoying to hear. All he wanted was a simple, easy answer to get this over with. But no. Roundabout they were going. "You are now known to have seen the king and queen alone. Well, with their knights, anyway. That is quite an honor, but it also started a lot of rumors and talks. I can help make those disappear if you help me." "I understand you're trying to leverage me into something, but if you don't tell me what you're asking for in return, I can't say yes or no." She sighs and rolls her eyes. "Well, it is to do with my daughter, who I believe you actually have met, even though she denies it. Her name is Aurora, and she is a bit headstrong with all things." He nodded, not really meaning to, but it was happening before he could think much. "Okay, and I have to ask for clarification on your role in this court, your name, what's going on?" "I am a lover, though you may have guessed that from the way I've been acting." "And your daughter, then? Why does she need protection? What does she need out of all of this?" "Well, someone needs to protect her. She, like you, is new to the court, and needs help avoiding potentially bad situations." Micha could only shake his head. That sounded bad. "You would be better off seeking someone who's been around for a while, then, wouldn't you?" She nods yes and no, and there's a grimace crossing her face. Those people tend to be interested in what they can get out of that sort of situation, their own personal gain and all of that. I've little I can promise them to keep them happy. Thus the new person in town might be my best option to protect my daughter. That doesn't sound like the most attractive of options to have, especially when it comes to your daughter. She waves her hand, as if this was no big deal. We deal with the hand we get, and I think you will do nicely for what I want and need. I hate to say you're wrong, miss, but I think you're wrong. How would I even help protect her even a little bit? By just doing whatever you can, Mr. Rexon. It's rather simple when you think about it. Just keep an eye on her. And if I decline this option? Well, the royal court is a fickle thing. You don't want to lose your place right away. I have a good line of communication with the king and queen, who both love me, even though I was just seen with them alone. Dear, they meet with every new person that way. It's not that special. You're not entirely special, but they may be taking advantage of you by doing what they did. This is a game you'll have to learn to play. You are already caught up in it, and they played their piece. I'll give you a day to think about all of this, and if you want me to teach you some things about life... He shook his head no, as she got up from the bed. In a moment she passes by him, her hand gently brushing his chest. I've learned plenty in my time, miss. Oh, well, maybe you could teach me a trick or two, then. Maybe, but I don't really associate with women who don't give their names. The lady smiles. I'm Jade. Before he could respond with anything more, she was gone. Left alone in his room once again, it felt quiet and he didn't like that. Worse, it gave him time to think, but his brain was only filled with more and more questions. Everyone wanted something from him, but why? He closed his door and was quick to get changed and go out exploring a bit, hopefully this time avoiding those 3 young men he'd come across before. A bit of a walkabout had led him through much of the castle that he was allowed to see, and nowhere great, and then eventually to the outside. It was a nice change of pace from everything, with the sounds of clashing swords and grunts greeting him. Here the field before him was trampled brown and dusty. The soldiers of the guard were all busy training to keep themselves sharp. Micha found a nearby fence to keep people away from the dangers and perched against it to watch things unfold. You're new here? With a glance towards his right, Micha saw a man wearing a knight's sigil while wearing iron mail to protect himself. With brown hair and eyes disguised a careful-looking man who guarded everything to the last inch from his appearances. You're a magic fighter. Well spotted, though I suppose my uniform does give me away. What brings you to the castle and court? I was told to go here by one of the lords who I'm not entirely sure what he does or what he looks after, but he wants me to be here. The man leans against the railing from the other side of the training ground. He, too, was now taking in the little practice fighting going on. Ah, I see. One of the many informants for the royals and the lords to keep tabs on the kingdom, then. A terrible job to have, but good luck with it. Yeah, that's about the size of it for me. I'm already getting pulled in a bunch of directions by competing forces, and I've been here a day or two? I don't even remember now. And you need to get away from it for a little while. How long have you been here? The soldier said. I think it's really a day, barely. The soldier turns to look at him with a raised eyebrow at that comment. Well, you certainly know how to catch everyone's attention then, don't you? And I was trying to melt into the background and do what was asked of me. But no, apparently I've been noticed. Well, you can always come out here and watch the fake fights anytime you need a break from the gossip and backstabbing. I'm not sure how I could avoid any backstabbing. No, true on that front. I'm Captain Cross Douglas, by the way. Nice to meet you. With a quick shake of hands, Micha introduced himself as Rexon. I noticed that no one is using magic in these duels. Yes, apologies. That is something I cannot talk about. The king and queen would be displeased if I started talking about soldier strength and so on to someone I don't know. Oh no, I didn't mean to. Perhaps not, Mr. Rexon. That is where the conversation was leading, and I can't exactly reveal information to a courtier of the court. Right, apologies. Feeling like he'd made a mistake, and that if he talked any more he might get in trouble, Micha got up from the fence. A look about the place showed that he really had nowhere to go, though. Leaving already? Well, you probably want to get back to your work? Micha asked. Well, I don't have anything to do aside from watch these suckers try and fight one another. Are you a magic user, by the way? The question was so out of the ordinary that Micha, who had taken a few steps away to find some place to go, pauses. Why would the captain ask him this? Does he want him to sign up and be part of the army, or... If I do, I'm not aware of it. Why, Captain? Well, we're always looking for new recruits, and well, it would help you keep your position in the court, potentially. Few people like to mess with the soldiers, especially ones with magic. Well, I don't have any powers that I know of, sir, so I don't think it will help me, and I can't help fill your ranks, so sorry. Yes, but you got thrown into that room, didn't you? Room? Micha was trying to keep all her facts straight, but since yesterday wasn't such a hyper day, it had mostly blended together. What was this man speaking about? What place? He turns to look at the captain for further explanation. Your 3 associates threw you into the round room with the pit? I saw that happen, by the way. Yes, but nothing really happens there. Yes and no. You came out rather quickly. Were you watching me or something? Yes, I happened to be in the area and saw what was going on. It's to our advantage to pay attention to such things, us soldiers. It only took you a few moments, really, a minute or two, to get out of that room. Oh, okay. What does that have to do with magic? The faster people get out of that test, the more likely it is that magic is in them. Come and see me when things start going weird for you. With a nod, Micha continues to move away, trying to put some distance between them. This place, he was quickly discovering, was full of opportunists, and they all seemed to be angling for him. New blood like him coming in was easy prey, he guessed. A bell was ringing in the nearby air as he enters a hallway and glances back outside, seeing a high sun up in the sky, giving him a good idea of the time. It was lunch, and people were rushing past, headed for a place down the hallway. Micha questions if he should join in the melee, and a rumble in his stomach made it rather easy choice, and so he joined the flow of traffic headed elsewhere. A line quickly formed and moved through a kitchen space, with food being doled out to each person going past. Micha found himself with a plate, listening to a minor conversation of servants and others getting food, though he soon found himself in front of a young woman who told him no yesterday. You! I'm here at the right time, right? Yes, I don't know if I like you, though, or if I want to serve you. She's standing behind a table with a variety of pots in front of her, all with nice-smelling foods coming from them. What if I said the king and queen liked me? That doesn't matter to me, this cook said. It will if you don't want to leave the castle, Micha tried to say. Giving him a dirty look, she merely shakes her head no. They like me as well. I've been here for longer, so whose word do you think they will take? Mine? Micha said hopefully. I really, really doubt that. He shrugs to her, offers his plate to have some food put on it. Another of the workers drops a dollop of something onto it, and he moves a step or two past. Well, see you around, I guess. No, we're going to finish this conversation right now, she said. Why? She'd pursued him until he stepped off to the side, right before the door out of the kitchen. He met her there as the two stood off, as others went by. You are a troublemaker. No, I'm not sure that is true, but if I am one, then report me and be done with it. Why do you care so much about this plate of food? Micha found himself asking. Because we don't feed the types of people who cause trouble. With a cocked eyebrow raising up in surprise, Micha took a look at the people filing by. He couldn't tell if any of them would potentially be the types that cause trouble, but judging from what he'd come across in his time here, though... You see all of these people and claim that none of them are troublemakers. Well, they may be, but they don't start off on the wrong foot with me. And I don't hear about their fuck-ups. So my only mistake has been being hungry and directed to you by others. Yeah, well, that is enough of a problem for a kitchen that has to be run at specific times. She attempted to grab his plate, but he pulled it out of the way just in time. You don't have to like me or see me ever again, but for the love of God, you shouldn't deny a person food. I will decide whether or not that is true. No, you don't, Laura. Get back to your station. A man in a dirty kitchen outfit, splotched with food and other items, probably other things, had come up behind her. She swung on the man, angry-faced and ready to unload on him. He broke the rules. You didn't feed him yesterday, and now and the wrong time, and he left promptly. Stop trying to get into war with anyone who looks at you. I do not do that. Back to your station. Micha began slinking away, trying to make sure he wasn't part of this anymore. The person who had came to save him merely gave him a nod. Thanks, Micha said as he left. A busy noise filled the dining area. It was not the same one where he had his meal with the king and queen that previous night. There were no sign of them anyway, and his attention was on the different sorts of people, all seated around here, eating as quickly as they could. From the knights and soldiers to some noble-looking types to some other poor-looking folks, it was quite the sight to see, and nary a table available to sit at. Mr. Rexall, if it hasn't been a little bit... Micha turned to look over at the man. Otto, it has not been a long time. What do you want? To talk, of course. I saw your little interaction with the cooks. Quite the temper on that one. Because of you and your friends, Micha protested. Otto now stood beside him, surveying the room of tables. No, that can't possibly be true. We merely forgot, and you got in trouble for it. Apologies. That doesn't exactly make you sound good, sir. Fair, Mr. Rexall, fair. Listen, and by that I mean our little group that we've been organized in, have a job for you. Micha looked at the man, wildly trying to figure him out, since why come to him? The thought of he was again going to be used by forces here came to mind the second after that question. I don't want your job. Of course you do. It will be the greatest thing you ever do. That was hard to believe without any proof that such a thing was possible, and to be the greatest thing he would do. Well, that would certainly make the rest of his life really sad to be a part of. But look, I'm only going to listen to your proposal. I won't really say yes to it. Well, I guess that's fair. Come with me. Oh, no, first I need a question answered about the room you shoved me into yesterday. I want and need to know more about that room and what was in there. Well, what about it? Otto asked. Is it true that people who have magic come out of that place faster? Now who would tell you such a story, Mr. Rexon? A guard, a soldier. Otto eyes him, trying to get a feel for what's going on, and then carries on walking away from him without answering. Since there was no answer, though, Micha turns away and begins looking for a table. Are you coming? Otto requested to know. Answer the question, Otto. It's a simple one, an easy one even. That's what everyone claims. You mean that what the soldier said the guard said is true, and that's why you want me? I don't have to answer that, since I gave you an answer for the first one. You only asked one question, now come along. Feeling like a trapped dog and finding no tables and with little choice, he began following, mostly reasoning to himself that it was just listening and there was nothing wrong with that. The door out led to a quiet, green, grassy field, one that Otto did not cross. No, he kept to the wall and walked along it until arriving at a bench, with the other two from before. There he sat down between them as Micha caught up. So, what's this offer? Aren't you eager? Yeah, Mr. Henry, eager to hear you out so I can turn you down. It wouldn't be advisable to turn us down. The tired old refrain from Frederick made Micha look over to the man sitting to the right of Otto. He was dressed up to look nice, but the air around the man felt foul. More threats I can't ignore. Great. I'll ignore them as I please. What is the demanded job you don't want to tell me about? We need someone to go into the forest. A glance in the direction pointed to by Otto shows there's a collection of trees that way, one that appears to grow out beyond first sight. Micha narrows his eyes at the place, trying to figure out what might be in there. A witch? A troll? Something else? And why were there woods in what he figured was the castle space of all places, where castles generally had walls that stopped such things from growing? Why and what for, gentlemen? There is some special stuff in there, Frederick said. Oh, we think only you might be able to go retrieve it for us. The second comment, the one from Henry, made Micha pause as he considered the request. To him, it sounded like they believed he had magic powers or some sort of abilities, which clearly he did not, since he couldn't feel anything. That's nice. What for? Micha found himself asking. To gather herbs for us, and you know. No, I am not aware of what you want, Frederick. Either spell it out, how I'm the only one you're able to get to go there, or I leave. The trio stared at him as he nibbles on his plate of food. Whatever it was, this stuff was rather filling, though greasy as all hell. Remember our conversation in the dining room? Otto asked as he sat up straight on the bench. About magic, Micha replied. Yes, well, magic users can go in there and get things for non-magic users should they so need it, and, well, it's easier if you go in. Is there some sort of threat in there, Otto, and why is there woods? Shouldn't there be walls or cities or castle? A witch. As my associate Henry has said, there is a witch out there who controls that place. She can make it shrink and grow to her liking, and she doesn't like non-magic people going in there. So, the three of you want to send in a person who you're not sure of has magic to get what you want? Yes, that will be about it. Micha fixed a heavy stare towards Frederick as the man just simply sat there. He wished all of this were simpler, but it was what it was right now. Thankfully, they hadn't put a good reason forward as to why he should go there for them. He turns away. Are you leaving? Very good of you to notice. Yes, Henry. Why? I have no reason to go there for you. You asked me to do it, and since you didn't give me a reason to go do it, I'm leaving. Henry, who had been talking to him, looked aghast to his associates that this wasn't going the way they wanted. Otto offered a shrug in return, but Frederick inched forward on the bench. We do have something we'd like to offer. You should have led with that, instead of a mystery which I don't care about, Frederick. Would you have listened, sir? Micha shot Otto a look and shook his head no. What's the fucking offer? Freedom from us. We will never bother you again. That certainly sounded nice, which he could certainly get behind and do. Whether he trusted it to actually be true, though, that wasn't so nice and probably could not be trusted. You have a way to make sure that I actually get my freedom from you and that it happens from you? We can provide it, right, Henry? Yes, I have a thing around here that will do just that. Henry grapples about his body looking for some paperwork and eventually comes up with a scrap of paper. This should do it. What is that, Henry? Micha asked. A note dictating the terms of freedom. If you touch it, though, you're accepting the mission. Otto's comment was most unwelcome when combined with Henry's, but at the same time welcomed, since he hadn't decided yet whether he should reach out for it to get a hold of the note. It also earned a bit of a stare from Henry towards Otto, who sat back in their seat chastised by the glare. Herbs from a wood, which is witch-infested? Micha asked. They're hard to get. They're special. Yes, as Frederick says, the only place you can get these from is in there. I have another question for you three. Why do you need this stuff? There was a moment's hesitation from Otto, the last one to offer a comment, as the trio looked over one another. Uncertainty seemed to be the only thing these three were actually good at. Herbs, Henry said. If you don't specify what about them, how am I to get in there and know what I am getting for you, Henry? Or even what is in there or what I'm looking for? Oh, that last part is rather easy. Go to the witch. You'll find her hanging out somewhere in there and she'll just give you all you need. That still wasn't much of an answer, and Micha decided to press the matter since he wasn't sure if he wanted to take the job or not. There really was no reason to, and his little secret operation was listening to people, not errand running for factions. He then corrected himself, since he felt like what he might be doing is exactly what people had wanted him to do. Micha took a step back, holding his hands out to the side. If you want me to do this, then I need to know more about it. It isn't that simple, Mr. Rexon. Should I care that it isn't simple for you, Otto? It would help. No, it would not. Talk to me and I might go into the woods. Promise not to tell anyone else about what we're doing? He nodded to Otto, who, in return, took a long sigh, then looked to his associates, but then didn't bother to speak at all. Henry, on the other hand, sat forward with a grimace on his face, and then began speaking. These herbs are called grossroot, trident, and merry thyme, and are said to have the ability to awaken things. While he wasn't sure if he'd heard any herbs by those names, Micha had heard stories about 3 rare things that could help a person. The stories were, of course, rumors of the highest degree, and no one would seek them out unless they help with magic, he asked the trio. It is believed so, yes, awakening the weakened sources within them and strengthening their concentration onto the soul. Those are what the stories say, anyway. And Henry, you want me to get these so that the 3 of you can have magic? Not us. Nervousness returned to these 3, who were looking about to see something, which made Micha look about. They were mostly alone, aside from a few patrolling guards. It is for a lady. They were trying to be gallant young men and help out a lady in need. That sounded unlikely from them, and from the way they talked to women. Which of those ladies who I first met are we talking about? He had tried to remember any of them, but there had been so much going on, it became a bit of foggy memory on that front. Not them. We're trying to help Aurora, the daughter of the mistress of the court, Jade, Frederick snapped. To that, Micha found his eyebrows rising up in surprise. End of Part 4 of Tangled in a Criminal World. Thank you for listening.